Yep, here we are. We are live. We are on the phones, on the call with Cuyla Coogan. I'm gonna sing a little ditty as some people hopefully get on in here. And it's gonna go like this. It goes, Cuyla Coogan, she's the smoogin. She helps people living their true life. She's the best at what she does. She'll help you see your true inner self. Cuyla Coogan, that's her life. And she does this and she does it for her life.
Let's go, Michael.
So we're on here with Kyla. I'm so appreciative of you being on here. This is like it's lighting me up just to be in conversation with you at all. And I'm gonna tell everybody, Kyla is a transformational coach. She works with people, kind of specifically leaders, and I guess like in the LGBTQ community, but also just in any leaders, entrepreneurial leaders, people who want to lead in their life, and she helps them to gain access to their true inner power. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get to that, I want to keep you on the edge of your seats. I want to build up a little bit of story. And I'm going to open the floor to you, Kyla, to just kind of share a little bit about how you started doing this and like what you were doing before you were doing this and like how did it all go? Share with me the journey and then like where you're at now.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me, Michael. I I feel very appreciative to be here right now. And yeah, I'll share about my journey. You know, growing up, I was very confused about my identity, and I had this like strong desire inside of me to make a difference, to like do something really great with my life. Like I had this just innate desire inside of me to strive to be like the best I could be in school, in sports. And so you could say I was kind of like the type A perfectionist, like trying to be the best scholar athlete. That's just kind of who I was growing up. But along my journey, what was happening was I was really hiding who I really was. And that hiding, which I hid my sexuality. I knew I was gay when I was in third grade. I hid that for about 14 years. And that hiding is what manifested into so many different health problems for me. So I ended up having severe acne in high school. I ended up having an anxiety disorder in grad school. And, that whole journey, I didn't really see that the acne, the anxiety, the health issues were happening because I was hiding who I was and I wasn't fully unleashing my truth. And that just became a lot more apparent in the last 5, 6 years of digging into my story, but also trying to seek answers to my anxiety. Like I feel like I went on like a path of seeking to try and get an answer to anxiety because I knew that there had to be some way out of it. And long story short, the last year and a half, I've kind of stepped back and looked at my journey and my story and what trials and tribulations I've been through, and kind of woke up to wow, I think I am supposed to be sharing what I have learned and how I've overcome this with other people. And what's becoming even more apparent is that I'm really like feeling called now to serve someone just like me, a younger version of me who has struggled with their identity, is in the LGBT community, queer community, who has hidden their truth for most of their life, has this desire to make a difference in the world, knows they have a gift inside of them, and they don't have clarity and direction on what to do with it. And so I've been waking up to that, the fact that that population needs my support more than ever. So that's kind of a long answer to where I'm at right now.
Yes. Okay. Wait, so you found the answer to the anxiety,
Yeah.
or you haven't yet?
You know, I don't want to say found an answer to an anxiety, but I would say that I found who I really am.
Mm.
Because I feel like when I still try to seek more answers, like answers haven't been very helpful. But what was really helpful was that I came home to who I really am. And that discovery happened because I kept seeking. So I was seeking for an answer, some kind of clarity of how to get underneath it. And along that journey, I would say I discovered that who I am is peace and is love. And I was seeking that sense of peace and clarity and love innocently outside of myself, not knowing that it was already within me and that it's always there. It's always there, and I can always come back home to it.
Mm. It's always there.
It's always there.
It's always
Oh,
inside of you.
it's
Always.
always there. Yeah.
Yes. I just want to breathe into that for a second because I
Let's
know
breathe
that.
into that, Michael.
Yeah. Good stuff. Wow. Okay. Okay. Because what I'm realizing something in my own life today. Like this conversation couldn't have come up at a better time. And that's the way the universe works sometimes. But I came into a moment today when I was like, oh, like I know why this isn't working or why this feels like it's not working. It's because I'm not being myself. And
Yes.
every time that I freaking, every time that I start to notice for myself that I'm just like, I'm getting anxious or I'm getting um like really like hard on myself or I'm like trying to like push forward. Um It never freaking works, and then I'm always like, where am I? Who am I? What am I being? Who am I being, you know?
Yeah, and it's so beautiful because it's you're the way you're describing what you're experiencing, right? What I'm seeing when you asked me if I found the answer to anxiety, what I would say I found is that anxiety now signifies that I'm off path.
Oh my goodness, that was a freaking gem right there. That is a gem. Oh my gosh. Because
Yeah.
honestly, you're absolutely right. It's like it's your body telling you that you're misaligned, just like my video and the audio right now is misaligned, and it's giving me anxiety. Um, but so, like, that's the power of it. So, yeah, I love that because it takes, like, a feeling that's so natural. Like, I feel like everyone has anxiety. It
Yeah.
takes that feeling and it gives you a tool. It's like an alert, you know? It's like a Facebook
Yeah.
notification. Lets you
Yeah.
know it gives you that endorphin hit, but it's like the opposite. It's that stress, right? It's just
Mm,
a powerful tool to be like, "Oh, like, it's kinda like the bumpers on a lane, on a bowling lane. It's like, "Oh,
wow.
I'm not gonna hit the strike or even just hit the pins." It's
Yeah.
off to the side.
Yeah, you're a little bit off path. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
wow.
You know,
So, that's
I
incredible.
I have one thing on that too, and sometimes this is helpful for people. Like, sometimes we feel anxious. There's kind of like these three M's. When my coach Greg Klaumanzer pointed this out to me, and it was useful. Was like when we feel an off feeling or we feel a sense of anxiety. Typically, one of three things happened. and they're all an M. So it's we either misrepresented ourselves.
Misrepresentation.
Okay, so you might have misrepresented yourself and embarrassed the shit out of yourself.
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
That's one. Number two is you misunderstood something.
Dose.
And then three, we were misguided.
Ah, toi.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the feeling is like indicating typically one of those three things happen, right? And so for me,
Or all three.
or all three, exactly. And it doesn't mean that you have to go, well, which one happened? Like, was I? That's not necessary, but it's just kind of knowing. There's like you can kind of relax into the feeling of anxiety, or you can kind of drop and allow that feeling to pass, knowing that one of those three things or all those three things occurred in a moment. And what you want to see is that it always originates with an insecure thought. That's it. So it starts with an insecure thought because we're feeling our thinking in the moment. So when we have an insecure thought about something and then we have a feeling about it. And so sometimes we'll have an insecure thought about our path, like we're creating our business or whatever, and we start to question where we're going. And we haven't.
I like. Sorry, go on. Go on. I was gonna say I like how you said that. It's like we're creating our business or something.
Whatever you're creating could be whatever you're creating. Okay.
Yeah.
You're creating something, and you might have an insecure thought about what you're creating. Okay. And if we make that insecure thought mean something and we kind of like chew on it, we feel it. So that feeling then indicates we're off path. So, it's been really useful for me to see feelings for what they are now, and that they're our natural navigation system that's built in. Like it's actually navigating us through life. Feelings are navigating us through life. So when we feel a little stressed or anxious, we're a little bit off and there's a little notification. And the exciting news for me was when I discovered that peace and love is always there, like we were talking about. It's always there, and we can always come back home to that.
Okay. You just gave oh my I don't know what's going on. It's like a gem storm in here. It's just raining gems. So I want to back up a little bit and make sure that everyone out there listening, which currently will be people in the future, is there were three M's that you want to kind of like notice, become aware of. And it's like misrepresentation, misunderstanding, or misled.
Yeah, or misguided, yeah. But the
Misguided.
main thing is that it comes from an insecure thought. It's like I also want people to get caught in like, because sometimes people overanalyze that and they're like, wait, was I misguided? Did I misunderstand something?
Okay.
Then they're getting in the thought trap. It's just like, pump the brakes. We have an off feeling right now. That's actually important. It's useful. It can be really useful. Like if I'm working on my business and I'm in a not so nice feeling and I start to work from that place, typically I do that and then I have to backtrack. So I'll make all these decisions and then I'm like, oh, that all didn't work out. So now I have to come back. And what ends up happening always is the only way out of it is to come back to grounding, which is to come back to peace and love, which is already within me. And I just kind of come home, and it's always just for me, just coming back to being grounded and then continuing to make decisions from there.
Okay. So before we get into what is grounding, like what is that? Like how does someone practice that? Before we get to that, anyone that's listening right now, we are on live with Cuyla Coogan, and she is a transformational expert, helps you to transform your mind so that you can allow yourself to come alive. Okay. This
Yeah.
is powerful stuff. I'm so excited that she's here. And if something that Kyla says during this interview resonates with you, Kyla is opening herself to connect with you. And if you want to do that, you can go to facebook.com/Kyla. That's C as in
Cat.
chocolate cat. Cuyla Coogan. Cuyla Coogan, and N is in Nancy. Um, yeah. So I'm super excited that you're here again, Kyla. And if anyone out there is listening and is like, wow, this woman is amazing. I must connect with her. If you feel that must feeling, that's where you got to go. Facebook.com/Kyla.Coogan. Okay. So now I want to transition back to you, Kyla.
Mhm.
How do I find the grounding in myself?
That's
So
a
now,
really
so we
good.
know that, yeah. So we know that, or we're proposing that the the feeling of anxiety is like we can use it as a tool to kind of like be like, ooh, this is misaligned, and we know that it stems from a what is it, an something thought, a
Insecure. It's just an insecure thought.
insecure insecure thought. So then we're like, oh wow, okay, so now we've become aware, we're like, wow, that's a super insecure thought, like I'm not fat, like whatever it is, or whatever the thought is, or like i'm a I'm a sexy man, or I'm not a sexy man. That would be an insecure thought, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm ugly, whatever it is. Those are just like obviously like just examples of thoughts. But so now what do I do?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound very like good to me. I
Yeah.
shouldn't treat myself like that.
Yeah.
How, how do I ground myself?
Yeah. You know, sometimes, Michael, sometimes we actually don't even know what thoughts are creating the feeling. So right now you're coming up with some examples like being fat and things like that, but sometimes we have a feeling and we don't always remember or know exactly what thought it was.
Hmm.
So I'm not really interested in like examining thought to get back to a peaceful grounded feeling.
Perfect.
Because what I find is that it's actually the content of any thought. Like if you notice personal thought, okay? Personal thought is thought about you. That's like me, I. So all the statements you said are like I'm fat, whatever. I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm this, I'm that. They're all personal thoughts about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And they're insecure thoughts. So what I'm more interested in is pointing people in a direction to see that those are all transitory thoughts. Like they're like clouds passing on by, right? Now, the less entertained we are by insecure thought, the less I put awareness to those thoughts and care about them. It's almost like I care less any of them because they're not true, right? Like none of those thoughts are true. So I'm more interested in what's true. I'm not
Mm.
interested in what's not true. So if none of those statements are true, then I actually um, I don't teach people to necessarily like journal or meditate per se. Not that those things are wrong, but I'm not interested in the false self. So I'm interested in grounding is when we come home to our true self. So underneath those thoughts, so underneath I'm fat, underneath all of that, there's a feeling. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the feeling from what I have seen to be true for myself and my clients is the feeling always comes from my heart. So what I would say is to come back to grounding is to come home to a feeling in your heart, and the feeling is really heartfelt. It's really like hopeful and heartfelt. And what's so crazy is that when people when people start to better understand their mind and the nature of thought and their experience, what happens is like they'll kind of get caught in an anxious feeling or something, and then all of a sudden they catch it and they're like, I'm just going to come back home to this feeling in my heart. And it really only takes a moment for people to like, it's almost like a match is lit in their heart where it kind of wakes up within them, like the feeling wakes up. Like it just needs to be woken up. And then the more and more they look in that direction, like they look to their heart, their awareness kind of comes to their heart and looks that in that direction. The feeling, it feels like a fire is lit and it just kind of like accelerates. And if people want to stay in that feeling or be more in the feeling, then we need to have a mindset of being of service. So you'll notice that like the thoughts you're sharing of like, I'm fat, I'm whatever, they're, first of all, they're not true. They're an illusion, which they look real when we stop and we believe them, but they're not real. They're just a cloud passing by. So the less I care about them, less entertained I am by them.
Mm-hmm.
I naturally become more present. I naturally come back home to that feeling. And the truth self just naturally wakes up from that. And what's so freaking amazing is that when people come home to being heartfelt and this feeling in their heart, the natural mechanism of the mind is that your mind naturally clears. So those thoughts of I'm fat, I'm this, I'm that, they fade into the background. So I don't even have, there's nothing I have
Mm-hmm.
to do with them.
Yeah. I love that so much. I'm
Yeah.
glad I asked that question. I'm glad I asked that question because that clears it up for me. You bring it, you bring the heart fire and let that
Yeah. Like
shine
elevate your heart's
through. And you can
desire.
just let all those, let things kind
Yeah.
of pass by.
Yeah. Like if you're going to do anything, it's like elevating your heart's desire,
Sounds like a
looking in
song.
that, yeah, it's like looking in that direction because now I see it's true. It's, whoa, most of my life I operated from my head. I was leading from my head, my analytical, logical side. So the shift for me has been dropping from my head and into my heart. People love, well, it's funny because falling in love literally is like falling from like focusing our awareness in our head to dropping into our heart. Like literally that's falling in love. And we can do that at any moment.
Mm,
So one other thing that's
yes.
coming up for me, and I'm sure you have another question, but to come back to grounding as well, is what you'll notice when you start to feel stress or overwhelm or anxious is that you're constricting.
Mm-hmm.
You're typically kind of constricting or hiding or trying to control how you're feeling. And so the way back home to peace and love and grounding is to open. So instead of closing and constricting, there's a lesson there to open. So to notice, like you did earlier, let's just take a breath and like open. It's an we're opening. It's literally we're learning to open our hearts. And when we're stressed and anxious, we're actually closing off our hearts and we're in our head. So it's coming and saying, oh well, that doesn't work too well if I overanalyze in my head. The way out of it is opening to love.
Mm,
Instead of it's almost like this was another moment I had recently was I was feeling some anxiety about a week and a half ago, and I'm almost when it's happening, it's almost like an experience for me to see how I'm out of it and what I do and what's going on. And I noticed that my thought was I don't want it.
mm,
So the anxiety came and I was trying to do whatever I could to not have it, like I didn't want it. So I had an I don't want it attitude. The moment I said, well, if I don't want anxiety, I'm getting more of that. So that doesn't work. What if I want love? What if instead, my perspective is I want and I open to love? And it's like shift, immediately shift.
mm, mm. Yeah. I'm shifting right now. I'm shifting. Well, like, it's something, you know, it's such a great thing that you shared just then, piece of, like, activity to just, like, s push to openness and love. because so much like I've been doing a bunch of these interviews, and even when I'm just having conversations with other people, and like I have to play my cards very smoothly because I have to be in this combination of like I want to think and listen deeply to what this person is saying so that I can like just receive what they're saying, and then I can send the love back to them, and like I can just be with you. And then like there are all these thoughts, analytical brain that's like just thinking about all this other stuff that I like could be worrying about. You know, like, oh, the screen is getting a little blurry. Like, is the connection still good? Can she hear me? Can I like does she know that I can hear her? Like, are there people that are trying to get into the Facebook group right now? You know, all these things. I'm like, and then there's on top of that of like this immediate thoughts that are coming up. There's all of the other things in my life that like need to be done. You know what I mean? But whenever I'm able to just like let those go, be with you, be with whoever I'm with, whether it be in an interview conversation or in any conversation or any connection. And I take that deep breath and I just like fall into my like just genuine self of like loving people and caring about people and wanting to deeply connect and bring joy to people's lives.
Yeah.
That's that moment that just it feels like the I can hear a little ringing in my mind because of the silence, and like it's kind of like that angelic high, you know, like "Ah,"
Yeah.
you
You know,
know,
Michael, you're
but
bringing up such a freaking epic
that's
point. You're bringing up such a good point, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I feel this is what's happening is like you're aware that
cut cut me off.
when you start thinking about you, right? What happens? So like
Yeah, that's it. You're so right.
the only problem I see that human beings have is we take shit personal, and we make it personal. We make it about us, and it's not like it's something wrong with it. But you'll notice that those thoughts are like a lot of it is, "Am I doing this right? Did I do this right? Am I this? Am I that?" And there's a feeling to it. But the moment that we're being of service, like you're saying, when your awareness goes to me, you drop more into more presence. Your awareness is not on you. Because when your awareness is on you and that those thoughts, your awareness is on a false self. It's not
Right,
even
because I can't
you.
like, they're not even here. Yeah. Well, and that
It's
yeah.
crazy. So that your true self immediately awakens when your awareness is on me, and we're connecting human to human, right? And there's a feeling that happens.
Mm,
There's a feeling.
yeah. Do you know what I just thought of as you were saying that?
Yeah.
Eh, um, and that sounds super contradictory to what we were saying, but, like, when my attention is on you, wh when my attention is on you, I'm actually being, and when my attention's on me, I'm thinking about being.
You're mean.
I'm mean, but do you know what I yeah, I'm mean, but it's like I'm not being anything, I'm only thinking about being away. I'm only thinking about doing. I'm only thinking about, like, living into my true self.
Yeah.
But I'm when I'm with someone else or, like, when I'm very present and, you know, when I'm meditating, I'm just, like, by myself, but, like, I just let all those thoughts go, then I'm being. As soon as I stop thinking about trying to be a certain way, that's when my true being comes out, and I'll never truly be able to, like, know my I'll never be able to think or talk about my true being because then I'm just, like, thinking and then I'm doing the mean again instead of the being.
Mhm.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're seeing what happened. We're we are awareness. Like we are. You're seeing that. Like your when your awareness, when you shift awareness, there's a you have a different experience of life. So if your awareness is on personal thought, insecure thought, you feel that, and then your reality is that. Now, the moment that you shift your awareness to listening to someone else and just listening, you're in a feeling, you drop into peace and love. And it's the same thing even if you're working on your business or whatever. You'll notice if your awareness is on what are you doing wrong, like it's me, I'm not good at this, I don't know how I'm going to do that. There's a feeling to it. And
Yeah.
I'm seeing is just like showing up in life, being of service. My awareness goes on not meing, being, it's weing. Like, how can we as a society change the world, impact the world? Like, I'm waking up fascinated by that. And that alone creates a whole different experience of life.
Mm. Yes, it does. Well, I think it's, you know what it is you experience life.
Yes.
You experience a true livingness
Yes. You're
inside
alive.
your body,
You're
you
actually
know?
alive. You're
You're
alive.
actually alive.
You're alive. Like
Yeah.
you're living life alive in the present moment. Because
Mhm.
like you're sharing those thoughts of what's going to happen in an hour. I don't even know what I'm going to think in 5 minutes. I don't know what I'm going to think in 5 seconds.
That's right. You're so right. We don't have any control over it.
We don't. But what we have control over is there is one thing we have control over.
What is that?
And that is how serious we take thought.
Mm.
So when
Ooh, that's
you're
super powerful.
Yeah, when you're sharing those examples, right? Like I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm whatever. Now, if I take that shit seriously, I'm in living in that reality and I believe it and life sucks.
Yeah.
But none of it's true. We all know that it's not true. And so if I know that those thoughts, I really know they're not true, and I don't take any, it's almost like I don't take any thought seriously. Like no matter what it is, and when I say serious, I don't mean like I don't act on it. I just mean like this. There's a like to me, serious is like taking it personal, making it mean something about me, making it matter about me. Like oh, like it hurts me, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm a little softer, no matter the content of thought, it literally doesn't matter the content of thought. If I have a better relationship to thought, period, and I'm not afraid of thought, if I'm not afraid of thought, and no matter what thought comes through, I am literally living in a whole different reality.
Mm. Yeah, because you're living in reality as opposed to the thought reality. I was going to a meditation studio for a little while, like a month and a half, month or two, and the thing that they were talking about, like the way that they taught this method of meditation was that we're all living in the picture world.
Yeah.
And the picture world is all of our thoughts about all the things that happened in the past and all the things that can happen in the future, and the thoughts about the car and the thoughts about you and the thoughts about me, and like the images of ourselves, and all of
Yeah.
that's the picture world. And then
Yeah.
when you basically you throw those pictures into what they call the disappearing sun, and they disappear forever. Once you've thrown away those, you realize like, oh, this being right here now is eternal and universal and is one with the universe, connected with everything. And and then it's gone in an instant because all the pictures, we're always adding new pictures, new pictures. But so I think that's like that's kind of what I'm like relating this conversation to in my own picture world,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, Michael, you're bringing up something really interesting that's coming up for me is that, I'm not really interested in what's transitory. I'm interested in what's always already there.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is that those personal thoughts that we talked about that are I'm fat, I'm ugly, whatever, they're transitory, right? They come and they go. There's an
Hmm.
expiration date to them.
Yeah.
But underneath that, right now,
Hmm.
who I am and what I'm sitting on, okay? What I am sitting on is always already okay, and it's not transitory. It's always occurring. It's always here. It's ever present. Never born, never dies. And that's what we're made of. So when people come home to that and they start to see that and get less carried away with what's transitory, right? Because it looks like those thoughts, like you're saying, they're like movies, but they're always transitory. So like you don't have to like do anything to the thoughts or make them, because they're going to come. That's just how it works. But
Hmm.
if I'm not afraid of them and I'm not taking them seriously, no matter the content of it, I naturally drop into a nice feeling.
Yeah. I'm going to take this second here. We're on here with Cuyla Coogan, and this interview is happening right now. And we're talking about becoming your true self. And we've just reached a point where we're really digging deep into all the things that are transitory as far as passing by, they're going on, and they have an expiration date, and separating that from ourselves, the true being of ourselves, which is always here. It's always ready for us to be and live into. And if any of this is resonating with you, go ahead and connect with Cuyla at facebook.com/Cuyla.Coogan. And I want to dig a little bit deeper here, Cuyla. I want to go one level deeper and make a bold claim that our bodies are transitory.
Hmm.
What do you think about that?
Interesting. Well, I see everything as energy. So I see everything as a form of energy. Like our body is energy and form, right?
Hmm.
And I do see that, our body, like I see what I'm seeing is that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. That's what I see to be true. So your statement of our body being transitory, my question to you would be, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So I guess my thought process, which means nothing, is really that, like, we are not this vessel, and that, like you were just saying, like, as far as energy goes, and like, I guess this is going to get really, I guess, maybe a little woo woo because I don't have any science to back it up, but um, like, maybe are we like these, like, beings? Are we all one? Is it true? Are we all, like, when we're all fully living into ourselves, in our true self, like, are we really just each other? Are we all connected somehow on, like, a really metaphysical level?
Yeah, I mean, what I see to be true, and I can just speak from my experience. When I when I when I came home to who I am, I would say when I really discovered that, holy shit, I am peace, I am love. What happened for me was I saw, it wasn't just a conceptual understanding. It was an experience of a holy shit understanding of sitting in a chair, literally just having a conversation like this with my coach and listening to what he was saying. he asked me questions and I would reflect and I would share how I saw my experience. And I don't remember I don't remember a lot of the moments of when things happened, but I was having these insights and it was like, I literally remember sitting in the chair looking at him, and I'm looking him in the eyes and I'm listening, and everything in the room went to a gray scale. So everything, it didn't matter, like the couch, every single thing I was looking at was a gray scale. And there was a feeling. So while I was seeing that, I was in a pure state of bliss. Like I was sitting on pure love, unconditional love with no contaminated thought. It was just pure awareness. So for me, that's what I experienced, was that holy shit moment. I literally sat there going, we are one. Like people say that and I'm like, I see it. I see it. I see it and I feel it, because we are energy. That's been scientifically proven, that 99% of who we are and what we're made of, if you go down to the cellular level, it's energy. So if we are energy, that makes sense, because if we step back and we go, whoa, we're feeling our thinking in the moment. So we have a thought, it's invisible, we feel it. That would make sense. It's like, it's energy. We're feeling the invisible intelligence. You can call it universe, God, source, whatever you want to call it. I don't know how woo we want to get here, but there's something and we're experiencing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I can just speak from, this is just what's been true for me and what I've experienced, that I've felt and seen the oneness. And when, like, this conversation is about being your true self and unleashing your true self, right? And what I'm seeing to be true for me is that my true self is birthed from being heartfelt, from a feeling of love. Like it's unleashed from there. It's unleashed from that. My fullest expression of feeling alive and present comes from a feeling of love. That's where it's like birthed from. And when I'm stuck in fear and anxiety and overwhelm, when I'm in that illusion, it's not actually who I am. I'm just caught in this illusion, and I'm getting scared of it, and I'm like frightened by it, and it feels really
Mm-hmm.
real when it's happening, but but underneath that is the truth of who we are.
Yeah, that is what I experience as well. And I've had that moment, or I've experienced that moment, and I experienced it now for a second as you were describing it. As you were describing kind of the grayscale of like feeling everything as energy, as like one, and you were like, people talk about that, but like until like that moment, like it didn't sit in your heart. You were like, I don't get it, but like I feel it every so often, and I think when I'm most aligned, I feel it. And like right now in this conversation, as I was just like intently listening, I was like, "Oh my god, this is it." I was like this is that feeling of like everything around me, everything where you are, the entire world is all just like this like oneness.
Yeah.
And I think it's amazing that we can all what's amazing is that we can all tap into that at any moment with ease, with a single breath and an exhalation. And it's happening at every moment without us even knowing. And that's the best part, is that we don't need to know anything, is that we can just completely feel into ourselves, into our true being. Ah,
See,
so
Michael, and you just felt it by listening. That was it. Like, think
yeah.
about, this is the one thing I want to leave with this here, is that, and what happened for me and what's happening with my clients is that it only takes a conversation for a transformation. Like
Mhm.
you're just listening. Like just listening. If we're just actually listening, not listening to the thoughts in our head, but listening to another, we'll see
Mhm.
something, we'll understand something about our experience in a moment that can change our life. We also can have a transformational moment or experience by reflection. When someone asks you a question, you actually look and you reflect about your experience. There's the possibility that you can have an insight. So what I think is hopeful for people is that no matter what they've been through in their past, that at any moment, they can come home to peace and love.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want everyone to sit with that for a moment. Just, if you're listening out there at home, just go ahead and just consider, at any moment, you can be peace and love.
Truth.
So, I think that's super powerful, especially right now in the world where there's a lot of stress, a lot of people thinking
Yeah.
and, like, taking swift action based on those thoughts.
Truth.
And, if you're listening out there, if anyone's listening, I'm going to put the message out to the world. Just take a deep breath and remember that you can be peace and love at any moment. That's the true power. That's the true power of being your true self, is that at any moment you can breathe in and exhale and wash away all of the everything else, all of like the little pieces that you think exist, and you can just be your true peace and love. And for me, and maybe those words don't resonate with you, like maybe peace and love is like not exactly what resonates with you, but for me, like connection and joy is what resonates with me. Like I can be connection and I can be joy,
Yeah.
and like that's what's my true self. But I think it's thank you for the people listening. But I think that there might be different words because we're like making up all these. We made up all these words to explain our feelings and explain ourselves. But like it's that only that true feeling that's inside of you, inside
Yeah.
of your heart, that that's your true you. And so like I just want to put it out there that like you don't need to be peace and love. You can just feel into that true heart feeling, whatever that looks like for you. And then if you want to attach words to it to make it like to allow yourself to like quickly get into that feeling or like fall into that feeling, um, then that can be powerful.
Yeah. You know, something's coming up for me about the concept of love because I think it's really cute. You're sharing that, for some people it might be uncomfortable or they might not know exactly how to like come to this feeling of love and peace, which um, I see that, and I think that was confusing for me as well. And but what I find really fascinating is that we all know the feeling of love. Like every human being knows that feeling in some way. We all know what that feeling is, whether they felt it with a family member, a friend, or somebody, right? We've all
Mm,
felt what that feels like. And what I'm seeing is that people are innocently trying to find that feeling of love outside of themselves.
mm,
So I actually want to challenge the concept that, because what I'm seeing to be true is that we are love, we are made of love. And it's not like it's just what I'm seeing to be true. And it's because it's a feeling. And it's the feeling is like I describe the feeling as like a jacuzzi. Like all human beings are sitting on a hot, warm jacuzzi, and they
Mm-hmm.
lose sight of it sometimes. They lose sight that that warm, hot jacuzzi is always within them. Like I'm feeling it right now. And the
Yeah.
way people like start to wake up to the fact that it's always there is like when we cut, let's just say I cut my arm right now. My body naturally heals it,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's something that's naturally healing that, right?
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
a temperature, like if you feel your body, there's a warm temperature,
Yeah.
okay? Like,
98.6
it's
degrees.
like if you, I do this with my clients, but if you breathe out, what's the temperature?
It's warm.
It's warm, okay?
Warmer than the outside skin.
Yeah, there's a warm feeling always occurring within us,
Mm.
always. And the way I would describe that feeling is it's love. From that feeling of love is birth joy and happiness and freedom. And there's a feeling though, and it's a warm feeling. And the way it feels to me that it radiates from the heart and accelerates from the heart. So I know it can be uncomfortable for people to explore love and what that looks like, but you know, when I what I'm seeing to be true for myself and my clients is when they come home to love within themselves and peace within themselves, they're able to live from a sense of certainty and security, and they don't have to seek that sense of security and certainty outside of themselves. So I'm not sharing that to go against anything you shared. It was just like, I know from what you're sharing that it can be a subject that can be maybe people are not grasping or don't grasp of how do I feel love or peace. It's just, I think it's good for us to explore what is love, you know, like what actually is
Mm-hmm.
it?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's a good question. And we got another question on here. We got it just says Facebook user, so I'm sorry that I don't know your name, but do you think that people mistake attention slash connection for love, even if it is unhealthy attention slash connection? And I I'll answer, but I'll let you answer as well. But I think what I would recommend is you gotta watch the beginning of this video, but people mistake attention for
I can
love.
share what I'm
Probable.
seeing right now. Okay. This is what I'm pointing to is that
Okay.
in this question, do you think people mistake attention connection for love? And okay, so again, I what I'm seeing moment to moment is people are desiring to feel a certain way. Okay. So people make decisions, they take actions and make decisions because they want to feel a certain way. So innocently, people are wanting to feel this feeling of love because it's a freaking amazing feeling. We all love the feeling of love. It's just, and there's a reason for that. The universe is like, wants you to come home to that feeling. Okay. But innocently, people will try and seek that feeling of love outside of themselves rather than they come home to it and they use that feeling within them as a guiding system. Okay. So like, for example, if I'm connecting with another person, okay, if I'm in conversation with another person, my feeling in the conversation is an indicator again, am I off path or on path? Am I grounded? Am I not? Like the feeling's just that's all it's indicating. Am I attracted to someone? Am I not? There's a feeling happening within me. But people are innocently reacting from their feelings because they want to feel a certain way rather than living from the feeling, like from the feeling of being at peace and love and being grounded from that place, moving from there rather than moving to feel this. Does that make sense?
I think so. Um, I think it makes sense. Yeah, you okay, so we want to feel the feeling, and so we are constantly going out and trying to feel this feeling, but when we're trying so hard to grasp at it or like push the feeling to come into fruition,
Yes.
we're not actually living inside of our true feelings of love.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you go to reach for it out there, you might have it for a moment, but it's transitory.
Mm,
It's because they're chasing thought. They're chasing a thought about someone or something. So, and they're like, because we're just experiencing thought in the moment.
hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So even in this example, like,
Well, I think
just to get back to this, do you think that people mistake attention connection for love? Yeah, I think that people, again, innocently are trying to feel love and connection, right? So they want the feeling. So then they're going and taking action to feel it, not knowing that the feeling is always already there.
hmm. I get it. James, I hope that answers your question. The answer is yes. And when people are able to intrinsically fall into their love, that feeling inside of them, and not look for it outside of them, it's good.
Yeah, well, it's more of like, if you see that you're chasing unhealthy attention or connection, there's a feeling to that. Like if I'm starting to chase the feeling of love, and I sense that there's going to be an off feeling to that. There's no way that somebody, they're going to be aware at some point. Those two people are going to be aware, right? There's a feeling that's going to happen between them that it's not working out so well. And so again,
Mm,
people are innocently doing things to feel love. So that's why it's important that we bring the conversation back to, it's always already within us, and living from that place and acting from that space is what's most important.
mm. I think you nailed it on the head right there. I think that's my problem. I need to stop thinking. I need to start feeling.
Yeah, so yeah,
I
that's
don't
getting
I don't
to.
what?
I love this. Keep going.
I really yeah, I'm not sure about the answer, but I keep on my mind is like, I need to have an answer for it,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure if I fully understand it, but you know what? That's okay, because guess what? James Bonsbach, I love you, and Kyla, I love you, and I appreciate you, and I'm glad that you're in the world.
I have one thing, Michael, because this might clarify something
Okay.
with what you're sharing, is that if you're not at peace, so let's just use the word peace. If Because peace and like being relaxed and being at peace is our natural state. Okay, so if I'm not at peace in any moment, if I'm not at peace,
Mhm.
I've thought my way out of it. I literally have just thought my way out of the feeling. Okay. So it's like when you think more, your thought thermometer kind of goes up and there's a feeling to it. So you think, feeling is off, 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 off. Now, to get back to peace and love, you need to let the thought thermometer, the thought meter drop, because we're seeking presence, we're seeking clarity, we're seeking peace of mind. So what I'm pointing to is thinking more logically about something is not helpful. What's helpful is allowing the thought meter to drop naturally, allowing yourself to be in the unknown. And what happens is you drop into peace and love. That's what you come home to, because when you come home to being heartfelt and being in the state of love, again, your mind naturally clears. So the thoughts you are analyzing don't matter. They fall away. So that's why I'm not interested in, like you're saying, thinking more and analyzing thought is not very helpful. So we need to keep pointing people home. And I'm going to keep challenging the concept of thought, of love, because again, the concept of love is confusing for people, but the feeling of love is not confusing for people.
Mhm. I think that's a great distinction. Kyla. Wow. Oh my goodness. There's so
I'll put
many
my love
gems.
shades on, my love
Put
shades.
those put those love shades on. We're pretty much like at the end of the ropes here.
Yeah.
So I wanna give one last shout out. I appreciate you so deeply for being on this call and sharing your experience of love and selfness and selflessness and
Selflessness.
more.
You got it, Michael. Yeah.
Yeah. And and is there anything else that you'd like to share before that? If you want to connect with Kyla, you can go to facebook.com/Cuyla.Coogan. And is there anything else that you'd like to share, Kyla?
I just want to say thank you for having me. And I really loved that we went there and we talked about love. And it's interesting because it for me, I need to continue to share that what's true for me. And I think because my truth has been unleashed from from finally coming home to love, and I'm not going to be ashamed to talk about that. So I appreciate you going there and having this open dialogue and this open conversation, and um, yeah, just feeling really grateful.
Mm, well, thank you, Kyla. I'm gonna hit the old stop the live, and if you're listening to this on the replay, go ahead and drop a hashtag replay. Connect with me, connect with Kyla if you want to dig deeper into these topics. And I hope that all of you go out today and serve others deeply, compassionately from your inner true love and peace that's within all of you, and be your biggest contribution to others and the world. Thank you.